go.
Thank you very much.
That's what I do. All right, guys. So welcome to a new episode of Movie Night, where I just watch a movie, eat some popcorn, and how do you feel about Flaming Hot Cheetos?
I have not had them in a really long time, and I'm really excited that you have them.
You know, I was feeling a little bit creative a little bit ago, and I thought, what if I crumbled up some hot Cheetos and sprinkled them on my popcorn? Is that just disgusting?
Yeah, that's gross. I don't like that.
So tonight, we're watching a movie. Somehow, some way, over the course of my 31 years of existence, I have never watched Predator 2.
I'm actually blown away by that. I really am.
I love Arnold in Predator. It defined who I am. It's one of the reasons I ever went to the gym.
And this has Gary Busey, and you love Point Break.
I do love Point Break more than I should.
And this came out the year before Point Break.
You're right, it did, 1990.
And so this is like, you know, this is Gary Busey in his prime.
I think subconsciously, part of me always thought, I love Predator so much, how can I go from Arnold Schwarzenegger to Danny Glover? I don't know how I do that.
I like Danny Glover. I do. I like him a lot.
I like him in Angels in the Outfield, but
he rescued some kids who were down and out and believed in angels. He fought a predator.
Okay.
He teamed up with Mel Gibson 4 times and got really old for this shit.
All right, so Predator 1, 2, and Predators.
Predators.
Will you ever watch that Blu-ray? I would.
Maybe. I haven't seen it since theaters, really.
Yeah, me neither. So they hit 4K, and it's time to immerse. I'm ready to eat some popcorn and watch a movie I've never seen, and I'm hoping it's good, cheesy fun. And is there at least a line or two that's reminiscent or on par with Get to the Chopper?
I mean, it's nowhere near as good as Predator, but this is definitely a fun, guilty pleasure film that you can pop in and enjoy. Like, it's definitely a movie you can just turn on while you're doing something else, and it makes you feel good.
I want to feel good, and I want to watch Gary Busey. So with that said, guys, we will start the movie up, and I'll see you guys after with my thoughts. And okay, it's Gary Busey time.
Gary Busey.
Los Angeles, 1997. It's the hottest summer on record. Pollution is choking the city. The gangs control the streets.
It has not been a nice day!
As bad as things are, they're about to get worse.
So now that you've seen Predator 2
Yeah.
for the very first time,
Yes.
what were your thoughts?
I think that was a fair sequel. I think if you watched the original, you would watch this and be mildly entertained.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? I think everyone's biggest question with the first movie was, I want to know more about the Predator and their culture and their civilization. And this movie gives you a little bit of insight towards the end of it, and it kind of has the world building.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually don't. I don't mind this movie. Like, it's really not as bad as some people say it is. I like it more than Predators.
Yes, well, it doesn't take much to beat that, but
like Predators might be technically like a better directed movie, but like it's just a rehash of Predator. Like, this is a completely different movie, and I've always kind of respected it for that.
The director of this film, he directed, I think, Nightmare on Elm Street 5, but he did a pretty good John McTiernan impersonation as the director of this movie.
It has like it's like practical violence, you know, blood squibs and you know, like bullet holes are exploding all over cars and everything, and Danny Glover's grabbing people and screaming at them, so it's definitely a Danny Glover performance. And
Danny Glover's also doing a lot of the narration of the movie to help carry the plot along.
Yeah, when he grabs the necklace, his necklace. Yeah. He's like holding it, Danny's necklace.
There's one scene in a bar where he's just doing exposition for like 20 seconds, carrying the plot of the movie along. But it's fun. I like Danny Glover in this movie. Like, I never realized Danny Glover was that buff until this film.
Yeah.
But
he was in pretty good shape in the late 80s and 90s.
Yeah, he plays like an urban detective, and we go from the South American jungle to urban LA, and the Predators killing gang members.
Yeah.
And there's some subplots with like a Jamaican gang who smokes a lot of weed. Gary Busey works for like a federal agency who are, hunting the predator as well.
Yeah.
But as far as Danny Glover goes, he definitely doesn't have the charisma of Arnold.
No.
And also, I don't think his character was written that well. He sort of just feels like a dude who's there.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
Weak characterization for sure. Not that the first Predator was like, some like Shakespeare or something, but it had enough. Like every character felt like there was something interesting going on. There were like, cool confrontations happening, like between Carl Weathers and Arnold Schwarzenegger. This doesn't have as much of the character, but like it's not as bad as some people make it out to be.
Well, it's not, but it does have Bill Paxton. He's a character. He's almost a cartoon character. He's the most obnoxious human being that you've ever seen in your life in this film.
I love it.
I do too. Well, fuck, man, we're all gonna die.
Speaking of that, and if you haven't seen Predator 2, spoilers. Like a lot of people have.
It came out almost 30 years ago.
Yeah. But a lot of people have said this. But like this movie for Bill Paxton, he had been up against a Terminator, an Alien, and now a Predator. So he's gone up against them all. Like.
Yeah. And then he goes up against Tom Cruise eventually in another sci-fi film.
Oh yeah, Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow. Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow, whatever you want to call it.
And Schwarzenegger in True Lies.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I love Bill Paxton in True Lies.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
When he's trying to sell the convertible.
Yeah.
And then, anyway.
Rest in peace, Bill Paxton.
Rest in peace.
Ass like a 10-year-old boy.
But like you said a few seconds ago, this film transcends me back to a time where they just simply don't make movies like this anymore.
No.
Early 90s, they go for it. They hold nothing back. Rated R action films, and those are few and far between nowadays.
Yeah, this is a great midnight movie. The first Predator is a legitimate film. For me, Predator 2 is a midnight movie. Like when I was a kid, it would come on like ABC or something in the middle of the night, edited obviously for content.
Sure.
And it has a lot of the funny parts cut out, like the Predator going, "Motherfucker," but
come on, pussy face, your move. Yeah.
But now that I can see see it now in like the uncut, because I used to watch, I had it edited on VHS from TV, and I would watch that all the time. So it's nice to be able to just watch like the full bloody version. Because did you ever see an edited movie when you were a kid? Like
yes,
on TBS or something?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you watch the actual movie and you're like, this is way better.
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like I did come across this a few times and watched a few scenes, but for some reason, I always thought it was like a knockoff of Predator, like not a sequel when I was a dumb, stupid kid.
Like a straight-to-DVD movie?
Yeah, so maybe my interest wasn't invested in it.
Well, also, it does kind of get a bad rap. Like, it's certainly not hated, but it's never really been all that well revered.
Yeah.
So I feel like it makes sense that you might think like, well, you love Predator, so I'm not going to tarnish it by watching Predator 2.
It doesn't tarnish it.
It doesn't. No, you can still totally enjoy Predator. I mean, there's like a long stretch for like 25 minutes during the second act where it's kind of boring, but then it starts to pick back up pretty quick.
Yeah, it does. I liked the climax, especially because Gary Busey just loses his shit. He basically gets melted. He comes back he comes back as a zombie, and he starts blasting away at the Predator, and then he gets chopped in half. It was and his death scene.
It's great. There's a lot of macho yelling. Like everyone's always saving someone's ass.
Yeah,
like Gary Busey's
screaming.
He's like, hey, it's my turn to save your ass.
This movie is pure 90s. It's pure 1990. And little weird things about 90s movies, the way that they light them like overlit movies. And I like that. The way the streets of LA were lit up at night, you see all these like blue lights in the alleyways and in the windows, and it's how I would light a movie. I mean, based on how I light my living room. Just little things like that. I like the way it looks.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's just a good like guilty pleasure style midnight movie. Like that's where it exists for me.
It's a solid popcorn flick, or a flaming Cheetos flick, whatever you want to call it. But I will say, I mean, you could probably put it up against half the action films that came out this year, and it'd be better.
Yeah, it's better than Skyscraper. And,
It is better than Skyscraper.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking of Skyscraper when Danny Glover was clearly dangling on wires, going down a pipe at the end of this film.
I'm getting too old for this shit.
I know. I was thinking he actually played like an extension of that same character.
He did. Yeah. This could have been just like a weird spinoff to Lethal Weapon, except with the Predator in it.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if they replaced Danny Glover with, you know what I'm going to say?
Dwayne Johnson?
Not Dwayne Johnson.
Tom Cruise.
Not Tom Cruise.
I guess I don't know.
He was
what
in
you're
Lethal
saying.
Weapon. Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson.
Imagine if Mel Gibson was the lead role in this movie.
Oh, wow. That'd be awesome.
That would have been like a really good movie.
That would be really cool.
But let's be honest, the only reason Danny Glover was in this movie is because Arnold said he didn't want to be in this movie. That is it.
That's probably true.
So, anyway, I finally watched Predator 2.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Does life feel complete? No. But I'm happy I watched it, and because, in a few weeks we get The Predator, it comes out, and did Shane Black write this?
No.
Okay.
He was Hawkins in the first one, and he's writing and directing the new one.
Yeah, I didn't know if he wrote Predator 2 at all. Okay, so nobody in the first movie had anything to do with this movie.
I don't think so.
Really?
No, I don't think so. The girl from Predator is seen on one of the computer TV screens in the van. She was being interviewed,
nice.
and I guess she actually filmed like a whole interview sequence, and all they did was have it on a TV screen.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
it? You said this during the end of the movie. You said this was like the first attempt at creating a xenomorph.
You see the xenomorph skull,
Yeah.
and that was like a legitimate acknowledgement of the Alien versus Predator lore, or at least I'm not exactly sure when that started. If the books or the comics were before this movie or after.
Okay.
But this was one of the first times like in the cinematic realm that they were like, oh yes, that's a thing.
It's kind of like one of the first Easter eggs almost.
Yeah.
And that's could you imagine being a hardcore fan of like the Alien franchise and Predator franchise back in 1990, watching this in the theater?
Yeah, that would have been that's like an MCU thing nowadays.
Yeah.
Where like superheroes are in other movies.
Yeah, this would have like blown your mind. So anyway, guys, that's our take on Predator 2.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I did enjoy it.
I'm glad you got to see it in 4K for the first time too.
It did look pretty good
It
on
looked
4K.
good. Yeah, that's the best of the films I've ever looked by far.
It did, and it was dirty and grainy,
Yeah.
which is how it should be.
Didn't
That's
look
how
all glossy.
No, like everyone's made out of wax.
Yeah.
So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you check out Chris's channel, link down below. And as always, guys, leave your thoughts, your opinions down below. Do you like Predator 2? Do you like, I don't know, which Predator movie do you like best? It's probably the first one.
Yeah, that's the best one.
But just tell me your thoughts on Predator 2 so I don't feel all alone. I'll see you guys next time.